Well, good evening, Glue Troopers, and welcome back to the TARDIS. So, a couple of cool things to talk about today, and some slightly weird stuff. First off, I got contacted by Phil, the fellow who made those second Aurora Godzillas, and you can find them out on eBay. Well, I deliberately not talked much about him doing that because he wanted to keep a low profile, but now he's created a video of his own that I'm going to link below. And to say he is an Auroraphile is an understatement. It's an hour-and-a-half video going over his collection. He's got some incredible stuff. And he'll talk about the molds and the second Godzilla and a whole bunch of other stuff. He mentions Andy Yanchis a couple of times for some things that Andy helped. But he's been collecting Aurora his whole life, and he's got just an incredible treasure trove of kits, some of which I had no idea existed, including he's got a couple of Batcopters, which, if I understand correctly, Andy told me never went into production, and he also talked about the fate of the original pattern, which apparently the tail boom and rotor got damaged and it got trashed, sadly. But he has a couple of those, and I don't know what the story is if he had it made himself, but he's even got a box for it with the cello around it. So there's got to be a story in there somewhere, because my understanding is it never went into production. But he's got all kinds of, he's got some of the actual patterns for a few of them. It's like I say, it's over an hour and a half long. If you're an Aurora person, you're going to see your childhood. And he's got a bunch of stuff he's collected that were made by other famous builders and stuff. So if you're at all interested, I'm linked below. You're really going to enjoy it. Sit back, relax, and this is all done on his iPad. He's not a professional like myself, so just enjoy it for what it is. It's really great. It's all about the content, and he's just go. That's all I have to say about that. So today, got a little bit of work done on the Pawnee and on the Vanguard, and my wife and I had to run up to Michael's, and this was the entire model selection at Michael's. Now, you might remember just, a couple of weeks ago, I was in there and they had full row of shelves that were committed to models. This was it. There were like 8 kits, no paints, no model paints. And I went there to get some yellow for the Vanguard base, and my wife did mention that she's this hot ticket with all the people who do, in her world, doing the dolls and everything, is this new acrylic ink. Well, I don't know if it's new, but anyway, I went ahead and got some acrylic ink, and it's pre-thin, so it says it won't clog, so I assumed it was made for an airbrush. And I did get it to work in the airbrush. You really got to mix it up well, of course, but it doesn't have to be thinned. And I don't know the difference between acrylic ink and acrylic paint. Maybe it may just be thinned out paint. But the problem it had was it was so thin that it actually got in parts of the spray gun it wasn't supposed to. I think my little Patriot 105's starting to show its age. But it actually got back in the trigger mechanism and everything. And once it hardened, it started gumming up the works pretty badly. So I've got the whole thing in there stripped down, taking a isopropyl bath. And the stuff is starting to lift out, though, so there's that. But it did, when it did work, it did coat very well. Now, it's a brighter yellow than the yellow I had used on the rest of the gantry. And, I might use a little black wash to dark tamp it down a little bit. But, then a couple of different shades of yellow might add a little contrast. Might not look bad. Or I may have to repaint it when I get some more of the regular yellow paint that I've been using. I'll see, but it did, when it did flow, it flowed smoothly, and this was the darkest yellow they had. It's still pretty bright. I also repainted the rocket body with an overspray of it over the existing yellow and over some of the body, just so you could see. And people said the problem is it was translucent. Well, it does go on very thin, and you have to put it on at low pressure or it gets like water droplets. So I dropped it down 10-12 psi, and yeah, it went on okay. But like I say, you got to really stir it up really well. So stay with what I know, but it was interesting. I still got plenty of stuff left, so I can use it in the future if I need it for something. But make sure it's well mixed. Use it quickly before it has a chance to dry. Might want to consider a retarder for it, but then I don't know if the acrylic paint retarders would work in that or not. So the Pawnee, I got the landing gear on, I got the wings on it, everything struts. It was a bit of a challenge. When I put the wing on the first time, the little guide pins just snapped right off. Now the good thing about this plastic that they use is that the glue bites really well. It gives you strong bonds. but the problem is it breaks very easily. It's just those tiny little parts, and you put them on, just give a little twist, and they're not really meant as stress breaking members. They're just alignment pins, and the holes in the pins didn't quite line up, so I drilled out the holes, and when I put the pins in, just the slightest little pressure, they came right off. But the glue bound very quickly. I was able to get everything on without any trouble. The landing gear on it does not match the picture. They show the landing gear, the main landing gear, as being a triangle with an extra strut, but this has this like angled piece that isn't what's in the instruction. But I went ahead and left it on because it secured very well to the bottom of the plane and gave me a strong landing gear mount. And about one small piece of the airplane, and it was one, this is the land of lost socks. The TARDIS apparently can send things into other dimensions right here inside the building, because it, the Terracruzer, and the Vanguard each lost a piece right in front of me that were never recovered. I'm sorry, the Terracruzer was recovered. I explain. No time. I sum up. Okay. A little internal piece of the Pawnee that went behind the cowling dropped off, and the front face of the cowling, it didn't drop off. I knocked it. I had to take it off to line it up, and I knocked it out, and I cannot find it. I mean, really right on the table. I wound up cleaning the entire table, searching the floor, sweeping the works, going to the trash, checking my clothes, everything. It just vanished. And it's not a terribly small part. It's about half the size of my thumbnail, my little fingernail, I mean. So, I mean, and this is weird. And I mean, I probably spent 45 minutes looking for it. It drove me bonkers. I had everything off the table, went through everything. Okay, so that one's gone. But it's not a piece you can really see, so I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. Which brings up a question. How long do you look for a part that's really not that important? So, all right, same thing happens with the Vanguard. The Vanguard has been standing up all day. Not an argument, not a peep, not a peep. I had it in a little holder here, and I moved it over there, and I set it back just the way it was. Perfect. Turn around and ass over tea kettle as soon as I turn my back. And it hits the ground, and it knocks the spike off the tip, which unfortunately every version of the Vanguard has that little spire. So I'm going to have to build one and put it on there, because I gutted that entire corner, swept everything, and I saw it hit and saw the direction it went, and it's just nowhere to be found. It could have shot up under a crevice under the wall or something, but I couldn't find it. And I'm like, there's a point in time, it's just a little spike. I can make another one. But that's two. Now the Terracruzer really jerked my chain. I made all the wheels for it and everything today, and got started making the suspensions, and I came up short one axle. And I went through the box like 3 times. I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Axle's the easiest thing in the world to make. It's just a straight piece, with a cap on one end, no big deal. So I make a replacement, get it in there, and then not 2 minutes later, I'm digging through the box, and there it is and I had actually emptied the box and shaken it, but it had gotten up under the fold inside the box, and I found the other axle. So that one was recovered, and yeah, I've been doing this long enough to know you always look under the folds of the corners of the box, and I thought I had, but dark shadows in there, it hides. So I got that one back. But the other two have gone to the land of lost socks. They're stuck out there with Lazarus, in the interim between the universes. If you guys remember that episode of Star Trek that probably had the most, in some ways, horrific ending of any of them, when Kirk's like, and what of Lazarus, with the guy who's caught in eternity fighting his other dimensional side. Anyway, so that's where we're at with those two. I'm going to get started on the ship, the Jolly Roger, as soon as I'm done with the Vanguard and the Pawnee, and the Mace and the Jolly Roger will be getting built at the same time. The Vanguard, the plan right now is to tape off there. It's going to be yellow. Hit it with the black, and then I'll have to make the band around the lower fuselage for the white area for the decals. And then I'll do the metallizer on it. Then put it all in the gantry. I marked off the gantry, what's going to be red, what's got to be white, and I got everything primed white, and the rest of it's going to be done red. Hopefully tomorrow. Well, I don't know if I get any model building done tomorrow, because tomorrow I have to go down to Daytona for stuff, and that's going to eat up the bulk of the day. So I wouldn't count on getting much of anything done tomorrow. I don't even know if I'll get around to having any video content. Maybe, maybe not. We'll just see how the day flows and what goes on. Then it's off to work. So this is probably all I'm going to get done for a little while. I do have a video on my tour of the Lake Freighter, the William G. Mather, that's already done, and it's going to go up in the morning, so at least there'll be some morning content. And the guys, that's what we have for this evening, and hope everybody's doing well. I do need to get out here tonight or tomorrow and finish cleaning up that airbrush. And from the Tarbus, that's all. If I didn't mention it, I also accidentally dumped my CA glue last night, the big bottle. Some of it leaked out, made a puddle, and glued all of this permanently to the table. Guys, take care of yourselves, and as always, model on. Well, folks, as I was editing this, I got a follow-up from Phil, and the Batcopter box was something he picked up about 20 years ago from somebody who was, in fact, manufacturing them. He was basically making these boxes for models that should have been. Also, when you go watch his video, he told me that somehow the first third ended up at the end of the video. So when you start watching the video, you're actually picking it up about a third of the way through. It's supposed to begin with him entering the garage. You'll see. So you could scroll forward and watch that first. It doesn't really matter. It's about the collection, but he just wanted everyone to know that. So, Phil, thanks for sharing your magnificent collection. And you know what? I think I'm going to go watch your video again. You guys take care and model on. They betray me. This vexes me. I am terribly vexed.